I bought this truck in Calgary, and I drove it home from Calgary, and I bought it specifically to do a Volkswagen diesel swap. So I am selling this 22RE engine that runs and drives pretty good. It's got pretty decent power. I was able to do 120 kilometers an hour on the highway all the way home, up Highway 2 from Calgary all the way to Pine Lake, which is near Red Deer. So I just wanted to demonstrate that this engine runs and drives fine. So this is the start of my Volkswagen TDI swap into my Toyota. It starts with a donor car and pulling the engine and pulling the wire harness and separating the transmission and getting rid of the rest of the car. Okay, so I'm digging the wire harness out of this car, and I discovered something about this 2005 Jetta. See that black plate there on the firewall? It looks like you can undo all of these bolts and that whole plate will come off, and then you'll have access to unplug your wire harness because there's a lot of wire harness that's got to come through, and I'm trying to keep it intact so that I can maybe try to run this engine on the stand or something like that. I'm not sure yet, but I want the whole wire harness out so that I can delete what I need out of that wire harness and keep what I need without cutting any wires. That's just how I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm starting my TD conversion. I got the 22RE out, and I've got a new oil pan here, and I put my TD conversions plate on, and I'm running into a fitment issue with the steering shock. So far, let's see if I can hold this and butt this up flat. Okay, that's flush flat, and you can see it doesn't want to go past that steering bar, or steering shock I should say, and I think I'm probably going to have a fitment issue with the steering bar as well for where I want this engine to sit. So I'm going to have to probably do some modifications to my steering system. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. I might try to just flip this bar around backwards and then have those arms over here, which is going to change the toe. Just to give me that little bit of extra clearance that I want. Okay, so I've got it on max clock now, clocked as many degrees as it can, and it looks like I've got, hang on, I'm just holding this in place. It looks like I've got ample room now, and I've got the transmission pushed up a little bit, but it looks like I could bring it down a little bit more. But I definitely have clearance now with this Passat oil pan, but I think I'm still going to modify it because, hang on, I'll just grab this. I think you can see how much I can move it there. I think that's probably closer to center right there, and I'm pretty close to that diff or whatever, so I think I'm still going to modify the pan and take out where I've marked there and give it a bunch more clearance, because I'd like it clocked a little more straight up and down than that. And yeah, we're just going to go with that. Okay, so this is my engine. I just wanted to show you how much that oil pan is. Looks like it's slanted that way. Level would be like that. So I think I'm at the right clock with where my oil pan is. To make the valve cover pretty well level. It's pretty close to level. It's as level as I can get it on this engine stand. That's as level as it gets. Valve cover is a tiny bit slanted, but I think it's going to work out for the clearance of all of the stuff on the top here to be kind of level with the hood. So I'm going to go with that. We'll probably go with that clock angle. I'm probably going to take all that emissions garbage off, and I'm probably going to cut this elbow off of here and just weld a piece of pipe onto it to get rid of this, I think it's exhaust gas recirculation. EGR, that EGR cooler is definitely coming off, and we're going to make this engine just a little bit more simple. Okay, so this is an oil pan off a 2004 Passat. It will bolt up to this BEW engine, and this is the information that I wanted to know when I ordered this pan. I couldn't find any measurements on it anywhere, and I'm just going to show you here in video here. That looks like about 4.5 to 4 3/4, probably 4 3/4. That's the spot that would be closest to the differential on my Toyota truck. And the front of the pan, I don't know, 3.5, maybe 4. And then kind of towards the bell housing. It's pretty low there. The other side of the pan is the high side of the oil pan, which is away from the differential, which is about 6 inches, and I think the highest point, if I get my eyeball right, it's about 6.5 inches, and over towards the front you're like just a little under 6 inches, and you got that spot there. So this is an option if you're doing this swap into an IFS truck. I did test fit this in the truck already to see if you clock the engine all the way to the one side. I don't think you'll have to modify the oil pan. I think it would fit just fine, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to weld in a relief there for the differential, because I want to have the engine a little bit not clocked all the way, but one setting back from all the way, and the oil pan is pretty level at that setting there, and I want to also be able to lower the engine in the engine bay so it gives me more firewall clearance. Okay, so I got my oil pan kind of mocked up there. It's not really bolted up right yet, I'm just showing you the clearance. So what I did was up there I measured to see how far away my adapter plate is from my firewall, and then I measured on the engine to see where that vacuum pump is. Up around there somewhere, I'm going to have a little bit of a clearance issue, like it's going to be really tight. So I'm going to probably move the powertrain forward just 3/4 of an inch. I think that's all it's going to take. I marked off a line there where it's sitting right now with the straight edge off of here to there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to flip that transmission adapter around, or transmission mount, sorry. I'm going to flip that transmission mount around, like flip it 180, and it should push the transmission forward about 3/4 of an inch. And I think that's all I'm really going to need, but I'm going to measure it when I'm done. Thing I'd like to point out, to make things really easy, just bolt your adapter plate up like this. Don't put your flywheel on, don't put your clutch on, and you'll be able to get the engine in and out and bolt it up to the transmission to do all your mock-up stuff where you're making your engine mounts and stuff, because your motor's going to have to probably go in and out several times, so this will make it super easy. Okay, I'm going to show you the progress I've made so far. I found out I did actually have to move the transmission forward, like the one guy did in his other video. There was no way around it. I needed a little bit more room for the clearance of my vacuum pump on the back of the motor. So what he did is he changed his bracketry here on the bottom side and moved the whole thing ahead that way. What I opted to do was make my own bracket and weld it to the original one, and move it forward that way. That way the base plate stays where it is, and I just move where it's bolted on the bracket. So that's what I did. And anyway, here's my oil pan clearance. I also have to redo my oil pan because I didn't realize that this oil pan was going to warp. So what I'm going to do with the next one is I'm going to build a jig to bolt it to so that it can't warp when I'm welding it. But it worked out okay, but since I moved my engine forward, I probably should have started with mocking the engine in the bay first to see my clearance issues. But you can see I got a cutout that's way too much. I don't need that much cutout. So on my new oil pan I got coming that I'm going to weld, I am going to take it back to where I got it marked off there so that I gain more of that oil capacity in my pan. Also, I have this marked off here because I'm having some clearance issues with my steering arm. I've got it disconnected right now, but I need to shorten this pan up a little bit here so I've got clearance for my steering linkages. So that's where I'm at with that, and I also have to cut those factory mounts out because my aftermarket ones are going to get welded to the frame there. I don't have the other one mocked in yet, but I have to remove them. Like there's no way around that. Those factory Toyota mounts have to come out. Playing with this idea of doing compounds on this BEW engine. I could mount a DSM turbo right there. I do have a 16G kicking around. Mount it backwards like the BRM has it mounted. Maybe run a stock BRM turbo and then a bigger secondary turbo to bring boost up on the top end where you need it. Bring the air volume up where you need it. I think it could work. So on the top side, it's looking pretty good. I've got it supported right now with a cross brace just to hold it where I want it to so I can get my mounts in. Here's the clearance I have. It's got clearance. I don't have to bash the firewall in, but I am going to anyways, just to give it a little extra clearance. Also, I want to run my turbo backwards to route the exhaust, so I don't have to route the exhaust right by the starter and by the clutch slave cylinder and all of that. I'm also going to bash the firewall in right around here, so I've got a little more room for my intake pipe. I could probably make a really tight one, but I'm going to bash it in so I got a softer bend for my intake pipe. I'm going to run the charge side up over here probably and into an air-to-water intercooler and then back into the intake manifold there, so it's a nice short run. And it leaves me a ton of room down in there for me to do a compound turbo setup. And I think I'm going to do that because I want low-end turbo spool with the factory BRM style turbo, and then I want more power on the top end. That way I can keep the EGTs low. But for now, the time being, I'm going to run just one turbo, just the factory BRM turbo, and I'm going to monitor everything and drive the truck for a while once I get it finished before I start doing compound stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to show you, I'm going to run the exhaust down this way. It's going to come over here, and I'm going to run it that way, and then in that way and under the axle. It'll come through like that, come through that gully there, and then up and over, and then straight out the back. And that's how I'm going to do the exhaust. And there's going to be a plate right here that comes to here, so it's going to shield all of that from like debris, wind, dirt, whatever, if I'm off-roading or whatever. Also protect the oil pan. I'm also going to wrap that down pipe in heat wrap and probably foil to try to insulate as much heat into the pipe as possible so I'm not putting it into the oil pan. So if you like this content, please hit like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. There will be a part 2, a part 3, and a part 4.